Welcome to the Iowa City Community Special School Board meeting on March 1st. My name is Chris Lynch, and I call this meeting to order. Thank you for those in the audience. Thank you for those on TV taking an interest in our district business. I'd like to start tonight by introducing those at the table with me. To my far right on the computer there is Superintendent Steve Murley. And then at the table, Directors Lori Rotland, Phil Hemingway, Brian Kirschling, Natasha Deloche, Tom Yates, Chris Liebig, and Recording Secretary Kim Colvin. Tonight is a special school board meeting focused on getting neighborhood input on our attendance area development process. And in the introduction section, you'll see an introduction of the process. I'm not going to go through it. There's a link to the overall process. There's a timeline schedule, how the neighborhood input process worked, and then key information and advice. I did want to say over the last few years, as we've done attendance zone work, we've had a couple pieces of public input, and they've been built into this year's process. The first was to link our attendance changes to the facilities master plan, and then also to provide a master plan. So with that in mind, that's why we're looking at elementary attendance zones this year, and we're looking at our attendance zones in 2019, which of course is very linked to our facilities master plan. It is a new process this year, getting neighborhood or public input before the process has started. So the board has, I think it's a very interesting concept to ask for input before we even get started. And we agreed to that. And I want to start and probably thank everybody who's participated many times tonight. But thank you for, especially the community leaders that are here tonight. But thank you for taking the time to input. I think we'll see tonight it's been a very high quality input, and it's really been outstanding. And I think it's really going to, having been involved in boundaries for about a decade, I think it's really going to help us as we work our way through the boundaries. So thank you for doing that. One of the most frequently asked questions tonight is, do I need to attend or speak? So I'll just answer that right out of the gate. No. Certainly if you're cheering on City West, or if you're cheering on Iowa, or if you're watching Super Tuesday at home, or you do not need to attend. We have your written feedback. But we did want to provide the opportunity for, because you've done such great work providing us input, we did want to provide everybody the input to, or the chance to explain your process to us and make sure that we understand it, and for the opportunity for us to ask any clarifying questions. With that, again, our objective tonight really is for us to understand your input. That is the only real objective. From a process standpoint, we want to provide each neighborhood or individual basically 4 minutes to review their input, and perhaps a couple minutes for us to ask questions. Now, feel free to be crisp and concise. You'll notice there's a lot of input, so certainly if everybody takes the full allotment, that could be 4 to 6 hours. However, I also know that some people are not here tonight, so we'll see how it goes. But don't feel like you have to, some people ask, they think if you think your package stands on its own, you just want to ask us if we have any questions, that's fine too. So, order of input, we're basically going to go through the neighborhoods. So if you're a neighborhood who provided input, they've been in the board packet or up front in the lobby. There's a list, and you're listed 1 to 62. And then there were some individuals who followed the process. They are listed 1 to 11. And then if time permits, we'll allow other people to input. But that is our plan. We will go neighborhood 1 to 62. We'll just call you up, and we'll work through this as quickly as we can. You'll notice tonight, just process-wise, so Steve is going to man the computer over here, so he will bring up your information. Just tell him if you want to go to a certain page or what you want, but if you're neighborhood 3 and you're up, he's going to have neighborhood 3's information on the board, and just tell him what you want him to do. You'll notice there's 2 tables up here. So what we're going to ask, if you are like neighborhood 1, you can take this table. Neighborhood 2 is going to take this table. If you're on deck, we're going to rotate, okay? So as table 2's talking, table 3 needs to get in position and get ready to go, all right? Now, if people aren't here, we're just going to keep rolling. So I guess if you're looking and nobody's taking the next table, let's just keep it moving. But I'll just call 1 to 62, and we're just going to roll as quick as we can. And we're just trying to cut down on the transition time. So I would ask people to try to, quietly move so that we can hear the people speaking and all that good stuff. And they do this in public hearings in Des Moines all the time, so I'm sure we can make it work well. So, any questions from the board on the process?
So I didn't get one of those pages. Should we go I'll go out and get one so we know, or will you just say number 1, number 2, number 3?
It's in the, there's two ways to do it. If you have access to the board packet, it's there, or yeah, just go take a look at the,
There are no more out there.
then
Well, we'll be telling them who's on deck, right?
Yeah.
we'll tell you the neighborhood.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'll announce it. I'll announce it too. Or share the packages that are, maybe we could pass it around. Any questions from the board in the process?
Can I ask, when I run the timer, I don't know that it'll show if we have the presentations up on the screen. Would you like me to give the 30-minute warning as it appears? It'll show on my screen, but I don't think it'll show on the big screens.
3-second warning.
Who's on deck? Oh, I'm with you.
When they're running out of time.
Yeah, sure. If you
Okay.
could give 30-second warning, great.
Okay.
Thanks, Kim. Sorry.
that's
Didn't
fine.
understand the question. All right, any questions on that? With that, we'd invite Neighborhood 1, Windsor Farms, and then Neighborhood 2, West Outlook to take your, no, we don't need a sheet. So thank you for that question, though. So if you are a neighborhood or you provided input and you're in the board packet, you don't need a speaker sheet. We'll see if we get to the end and there's time to take additional. If you're not in the board packet, then give Kim your speaker sheet.
So if you're west Overlook, North Lincoln, you are welcome to come up and sit at the second table over there. And if Ollinger Heights, Molly Yates, Kathy Rose, Brooke Kohler, if they notice that group 2 doesn't show up, then you're welcome to come up and sit at that table over there so that you're ready to go when group 1 is done.
All right, Windsor Farms, take it away.
Okay, I'm Elise Shields. I live at 135 Cambridge Way. I think that's probably the most important. So I don't really have anything additional. I think our thing was pretty complete as much as possible. We do have one signature from every household that's occupied in the neighborhood, and there was no really discussion. I mean, there was a discussion. There was a Facebook, we have a Facebook, neighborhood Facebook page, and, but I should say there was nobody who wanted anything other than what we presented, which was to go to Van Ellen, basically because 28% of the homes share a physical boundary with that school.
Any questions for Lisa?
So yeah, just an opportunity if you have any questions about anything.
Well, I want to thank you for being number 1.
I drove it over here so that I didn't lose it in the mail. And then we do, I guess, reiterate that we do agree with the North Central Liberty as the feeder as well. So.
Great, thank you, Lisa.
All right.
Are we on to number 3?
Ollinger.
Bollinger?
So we are north of Forever Green Road there in Ollinger Heights. We only listed one option, and we came to that consensus as a neighborhood because the other, our number 2 and number 3 didn't seem to make sense, so we didn't want to sign something that didn't make sense. Our number 2 in the neighborhood was Garner, which we'd have to pass Van Allen to get to, and our number 3 was Grant, which just also didn't make sense. Right now you'd have to pass it currently, unless they opened up Forever Green Road to the east, you would also have to pass Van Allen and Garner. So that's the reason for the one school there. This decision was made highly on secondary boundary choices. North Central is, we feel, spitting distance from our neighborhood. Our current junior high students who live in our neighborhood all walk, ride their bikes in any kind of weather. And so that was our big driving factor in this decision, and Liberty as well being a closer commute down the line. So, any questions?
No, great. Thank you for Ollinger Heights participating in the process, so thank you.
Thank you.
Number 4, Dempster Drive. 5, River Heights. And then 6, Arlington Ridge will be on deck. So that's River Heights, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I'm Andrea Gage, 11 Lakeview Drive, Northeast, Iowa City. And while I'm on Lakeview Drive, we're part of River Heights. So all of the knolls along North Dubuque Street, where you see Fairview, Glenview, Lakeview, Longview, Brickwood, they go along North Dubuque as well as along Stewart Road are the different knolls. It includes, I believe, 151 homes. That being said, we received 56 signatures, along with, I know a lot of retirees travel south for the winter, and they asked me how to get in touch with you. So I'm hoping they sent you letters or those types of things, as they were not able to attend our meeting. In any case, our three top choices were, first of all, the new Christine Grant Elementary that would be within walking distance. Our second choice as being Penn, which would then again feed into the new Liberty High School, which is within walking distance for us, and that's why those were our first two, because of the walkability and proximity factors. And our third choice was Wickham Elementary, being really, I think we're just over the 2-mile boundary, or some of the homes are still within the 2-mile boundary for walking to Wickham. Anyway, all three are closer than our current assignment is. And so people were excited about it. First of all, they just wanted me to reiterate how grateful they were for input up front. They thought that was a wonderful idea and very excited to provide that. And secondly, really, we had just a very strong and excited consensus amongst our neighbors. The young families were thrilled to find out about it before their kids are even starting school. This was something that we try to spread out throughout the neighborhood to let people know. So we have some toddlers and preschoolers that will hopefully be filling these seats sometime soon. Those families were excited about the proximity and the walkability and the chance to provide input now. The retired families, or the retired couples in our neighborhood and individuals, were very excited as well, because we were one of the first, as I understand it, first subdivisions of Iowa City back in the 60s, and they were excited that they felt like having these new schools in our backyard helps kind of fulfill this picture and dream that they've had for our community or for their neighborhood, and they were excited to hopefully get to be a part of that and participate in more neighborhood activities through the schools. And our current families were excited about the convenience for activities. Involvement allows for more participation and overall academic opportunities to enhance the students' education. Overall, they're excited to contribute in building and creating, supporting these two new outstanding schools in our district, and can't wait for the opportunity to build and enhance our neighborhood community through these two new schools. So thank you very much.
Great, thanks to River Heights. 6 Arlington Ridge, 7 Fox Run East, and then Fox Run West will be on deck.
Hi, Fox Run East. I'm Lynn Peterson, 105 Vixen Lane. We had 20 households respond out of the 146 households that we have in our neighborhoods on the east side. This is the east side of Scales Bend Road. We kind of divided our large neighborhood into two parts. So, but our overwhelming response was to keep Penn, even though our neighborhood is kind of reeling and reacting to the loss of busing for our neighborhood. It was very, very clear that we definitely wanted to keep Penn more than busing. It's going to be challenging for us to do without the busing, but Penn is more important to us because of the awesome teachers and the awesome educational opportunities for our children. So we'll figure it out. But that's basically what we wanted to say.
Great, thank you, Fox Run East. If there's any questions, just let them go at the end. Fox Run West, and then up number 9, North Lincoln. I know there's not a lot of North Lincoln, so check to make sure you're number 9.
My name is Jillian Williams. I'm actually representing Fox Run West. I actually live in Aspen Ridge, and we're subdivisions borderline each other. Our subdivisions are pretty much similar in elementary choice, but for Fox Run West, they had Penn as their number 1 choice, and their rationale was to keep the communities of students together and to minimize the disruption of moving students to a different school. So I don't know if there's any questions in regards to that.
No, thank you to Fox Run West, thank you. Are we up to Welch Village, number 10?
Yeah, this is Tong Yao from Welsh Village. So thank you very much for explicitly giving sort of North Lincoln neighborhoods a chance to sort of hear our voice about our school preference. So Welsh Village, roughly speaking, geographically, it's I think the east side of Coralville City. South side is bounded by Oakdale Street, and to the east it's Dubuque. And the west side is the current attendance zone boundary for Wickham. So roughly speaking, we have about 155 families, mainly single-family houses and duplexes. And the characteristic I would characterize the neighborhood as relatively affordable housing, small lots, and attracts lots of young families, startup families, family with lots of kids. So the school attendance zone is particularly important for the families in Welsh Village. So currently, our attendance zone is elementary school is Lincoln, and according to the decision of the board last year, so from 2017, the junior high school will be Southeast, and the high school is the City High. So that put us about, in terms of distance, about 3 miles. Actually 4 miles from Lincoln, 6 miles from Southeast Junior High, and 5 miles from City High. And unfortunately, there are 3 elementary schools closer than Lincoln from our neighborhood, and the other 2 junior high schools closer than Southeast Junior High, and the other 2 high schools, including the new one, closer to the City High. So we are kind of the remote outpost for all the 3 from junior high, from elementary to junior high school to high school situation. That unfortunately adds lots of uncertainty to the neighborhood. So I've moved here in 2008, and in the past 8 years, every 1 or 2 years, we are considering the boundary changes, and the neighborhood, what's called North Lincoln, including Welsh Village, every time it's subject to change. So that's a lot of uncertainty, unfortunately, and we are really hoping that this time we can get what's called a neighborhood school. So there, out of the 158 families, we were able to get the signature for 75 of them, which indicate a uniform preference for Wickham as the elementary school, the first choice, and the new elementary school, Christian Grant, as the second one. The main consideration is rather being the distance. The Wickham is about 1.5 miles away from one of the 3 bus stops in our neighborhood, Welsh Village. The other 2 bus stops, one is slightly to the south end, the other is slightly to the north end, about 0.2 miles away from the calculation point I use. So it's roughly speaking within the 2-mile boundary distance from Wickham. And it's about 2.9 miles away from the new elementary school, Christian Grant. And so our preference, the first preference is Wickham, and the second one is Christian Grant. I should add that on the north, a little bit on the north side, which is called Brackenshire Street, the neighborhoods actually, if you do the weighted average distance for the elementary school, junior high school, and high school, actually the new elementary school plus North Central and plus the Liberty High would be actually slightly closer. So actually, Brackenshire families have a different neighborhood input form, although they are part of Welsh Village. Okay, so that's a little bit of factor to consider. Related to the sort of the factors the board.
Point.
Okay. To the factors the board consider, sort of neighborhood school is one factor. The other factor is actually going to Wickham, the neighborhood kids actually doesn't need busing, so it saves lots of transportation costs and the time from the families. The other thing perhaps I should add is this, we're aware of all these capacity constraints of different schools, and the new school, it's great. Everybody wants to go to the Christian Grant. The problem is, it's scheduled to absorb lots of capacities from neighboring schools, and maybe out of 110 students from North Lincoln, even the new school can't absorb. So in that case, Welsh Village is really closest
Thank you to
Wickham.
Welsh Village.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Number 11, North Lincoln, Port Talbot. 12, North Lincoln. There's a few North Lincolns. 13, Welsh Village, Lincolnshire, etc. 14, Lincoln PTO. 15, Welch Village 1. 16, Penn Heights. 17, Hickory Trail. 18, Old Neighborhood, North Liberty. 19, Forest Edge. You're in 20, you're on deck, and if nobody gets there, 21, just keep coming.
So Steve, could you go to the second page? No, up, yes. This is our rationale. This is an addendum we included with our preferences, and I think I'm just going to read this because if anything's going to confuse you about what it is that we're recommending, this is going to be it. So I'm just going to read it, and you can follow along if you can see it. Sorry. The elementary attendance area neighborhood input document distributed to families via email on January 29 lists a specific set of feeder streams. Given these apparent constraints, the Forest Edge neighborhood opted to distribute an electronic survey asking neighborhoods to indicate a preference for either a Wickham Northwest West path or a Van Allen North Central Liberty path, which we felt were the most viable alternatives for our neighborhood. The survey results indicated 52% of residents preferred Wickham Northwest West, while 47% of residents preferred Van Allen North Central Liberty. The survey also asked respondents to list rationale for their choice. Distance to school was an important consideration for the vast majority of respondents, though given our proximity to both Wickham and North Central, preferences were largely split on the basis of the ages of the children within each family. After the February 23 board meeting, where it became apparent that the secondary feeder streams will be reevaluated this spring, we polled our neighbors again, and Wickham, North Central, Liberty quickly emerged as our neighborhood's overwhelming preference. This path has the advantage of being supported by the vast majority of residents in our neighborhood, while simultaneously eliminating the need for the district to provide busing for any Forest Edge child at either the elementary or junior high level. It also reduces by half the distance Forest Edge children would travel to high school. The Wickham to North Central to Liberty path both saves ICCSD money and gives families what they want. So, I mean, does that make sense?
Great, thanks, Forest Edge.
All right.
20 Ped Meadows, 21 Westview Acres Northeast, 22 Stewart Road, The Woods, 23 Locust Ridge,
23? All right. Thank you.
23, 24 is on deck.
So I'm here representing Locust Ridge, Woodfield Lane, Austin Estates, and Kenyan Forest, which is a total of probably 30 to 40 houses, so, and less than 10 kids in the district at the moment. That neighborhood is currently designated to Wickham, and the overwhelming majority want to be designated to Grant, with Penn as the alternative. Basically, we're at the corner of Liberty High, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us to try to get on Dubuque Street and then drive to West. Also, it saves the district quite a bit of money in busing. We're less than a mile from Grant, we're less than a mile from Liberty, and we just have to bus for junior high. So those are the main considerations there. Garner's our third choice, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But any questions about that? Unfortunately, I don't have a map, but the main construction drive is 275th Street, so that's
So you
the
can
street
throw a
all of
baseball?
our streets.
Can you hit it with a baseball or?
Yeah,
close?
we can basically throw a baseball. We'll be able to hear the football games, but it would make most sense for, I think, for everybody involved for us to be on the Liberty pathway. So.
Great, thank you, Locust Ridge, et cetera. 24 Liberty Center.
Hi, my name is Melanie Peterson. I'm at 90 North Colton Drive. Our list for choices, number 1 being Garner, 2 was Van Allen, and 3 was Penn. Rationale was just keeping communities of students together, as you guys had listed in your appendix, was the main one, and just minimizing student disruptions. That's all I have, unless you have more questions for me.
Great, thank you, Liberty Center.
Thanks.
25, the Stables, and then 26 will be on deck, Auburn Hills Estates.
Okay, I'm Angela Pitkin. I'm here representing the Stables. I did an online survey because I had a feeling our neighborhood would be split for first choice of elementary school, and that's how it turned out. I didn't want to make somebody else go around with their choices and rationales and double the work. So we made 2 visits to each home in our neighborhood 1 week apart to provide the information and the link and then a reminder. There are 72 homes in our neighborhood, 3 houses are empty, so we got a 38% response rate of homes in our neighborhood to our survey. I felt it was important to give you a copy of the survey and some of the information that I provided to residents in my neighborhood, but tonight I'll focus on a brief summary of the results. The first choice results were basically split. 56% wanted Wickham for their first choice elementary school. They wanted Wickham because it is less than a mile away for some of the homes in my neighborhood, and at most, barely over a mile away. So it's a walkable school, which was important to people in my neighborhood since we lost our discretionary bus recently. The 44% of people, however, chose Van Allen for their first choice, primarily because that's where students are already attending. They have liked Van Allen, they like the secondary path that Van Allen has, and it's still relatively close. For the second, and notice that no other school got a first pick in our neighborhood, so Van Allen or Wickham seems to make the most sense to people in my neighborhood. Second choice results, Van Allen received the most, then Wickham got 33%, followed by Garner and Kirkwood. Most people who picked Van Allen for first choice picked Wickham for second, and vice versa. Again, Van Allen focused on proximity, where kids are now, and a safer route than a third choice would be. Wickham's rationales again focused on proximity, and a few noted that it still got second choice despite a less preferred secondary path, which has greater distances to the junior high and high schools for our neighborhood. For third choice, Garner got the most with 38%, followed by Kirkwood, Van Allen, Coralville Central, and Future Grant. Again, proximity for Garner, Kirkwood, Van Allen, and a better secondary path were the rationales for those third choices. A few of the responses for Kirkwood as third choice expressed concerns that even though they selected it as third choice, there were concerns about getting safely to school with a lot of obstacles in the path along the way, including a railroad track and various other obstacles. I also want you to note that for some homes in our neighborhood, Van Allen actually is the second closest school. So for those homes furthest to the north, Van Allen is the closest elementary school due to the cutoff point for measuring distance that the district uses, which is at Front Street. And for other schools in our neighborhood, Kirkwood is actually the second closest school. Our neighborhood overwhelmingly wants a school within 2 miles of their neighborhood. They prioritize that over busing. And I had some demographic information in case anybody was curious. The percents in this summary are slightly off. They're correct in the actual survey results, which I also provided you. I'd like to ask you to please take the time to read all of the provided rationales that people listed for each school in my survey. I just kind of summarized the most common ones and the overwhelming majority. So, do you have any questions?
Great, thank you to the stables. Auburn Hills, and then on deck will be 27, Washington Park.
Hi, I'm Meredith Fishbane. I'm from Auburn Hills. And so basically, we are just to the east of Wickham. It says on the walking radii we're about 2 miles away, but actually the farthest house in our community is just under a mile at 0.9 because we use the walking trail. All the kids go kind of en masse, many of them without parents because they can able to take that safe trail. They don't have to cross any streets to get to the school. We just collected signatures just over a quick week, and we're able to get over half the houses covered just kind of going after school. So overwhelmingly, everybody was very much in favor of Wickham. Obviously, there was some debate about the junior high issue, but we really stuck to which elementary school was best, and that's what everyone was in favor of, the walking proximity to that. So I think everything else is pretty self-explanatory. I don't know if you have any questions.
I just have a simple question. We received some email communication, I think it was yesterday. I just want to make sure that walking trail that you refer to is maintained by the city of Coralville in the wintertime as well?
Yes, so I don't have, my oldest is entering this coming fall, but Jeff Hughes is also listed. He walks his child to school every single day, and they do plow. The city is responsible for that, so he does rain or shine. Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Auburn Hills. 27, Washington Park. On deck is 28, Broadmoor.
My name is Melanie Sigafus, and I'm representing the Washington Park neighborhood, which is the current Hoover Elementary attendance area east of First Avenue, north of Court Street, and up to and including some streets just to the north of Rochester Avenue. And we are submitting the input with 89 signatures. Our first choice is the current Hoover Elementary School, 2200 East Court Street. It is our closest neighborhood school. It is within a radius that won't necessitate mandatory or discretionary busing and the extra expenses that goes along with that. It encourages walkability. It utilizes existing capacity, and it keeps a cohort of neighborhood students together. Our second choice was Lemmy Elementary as the second closest school. And our third choice is Longfellow Elementary as the third closest elementary school. We did consult the maps that are in the board docs, which was very helpful in visualizing how far different elementary schools were from our neighborhood. It was of concern that none of the current Hoover Elementary students are represented on any of these maps. So as decisions are made for where students go to school, hopefully there will be seats for our students in some capacity, even though they're not on a map right now. Thank you so much.
Thank
Is there
you.
any reason why this one, I'm not seeing it listed in here? It goes from 26 to 28.
It's all the way at the bottom, Phil.
At the,
Very bottom.
oh, excuse me. I didn't go all the way.
You might have added a page or something.
We had to add it to the bottom.
Okay, all right.
It's a good point. So Phil just said 28 was actually at the bottom of the packet. So if anybody sent a revision, you can only add the packets in order. So Kim either would have had to re-enter like all 80, or that's why just check at the bottom.
We had a sheet that was submitted that, for
Right.
whatever reason, didn't show up online. So Kim was kind enough to put it on again for us.
Yep.
That's why I alphabetized mine.
There you go. Well, you can only put them in one order.
Kim, it's only 80. Come on.
Thanks to
80 out and
Washington.
80 in.
So 28 Broadmoor Estates, and then on deck's 29 Hoover Triangle.
Hi, my name is Abby Tagg. I'm representing Broadmoor Estates in North Liberty. Our neighborhood is currently assigned to Garner Elementary. Our neighborhood is a mixture of condos to the far west of our neighborhood, and the remainder being traditional single-family homes. Our neighborhood has been assigned to Garner Elementary since its opening in 2010. Our neighborhood input is based upon an electronic survey that was sent out to our neighbors via social media, email, and word of mouth. We had about 32 responses to the survey, and we attribute that response rate to essentially us getting a late start in this process. And then we were able to obtain approximately 80 signatures from our neighborhood supporting this particular input. Our elementary preference summary was that our number 1 preference was Garner, number 2 Van Allen, and number 3 was Penn. The justification for that was essentially that Garner would be minimizing student disruption and keeping communities of students together, and also, again, minimizing transportation costs and distance. Our number 2 was Van Allen, essentially because our neighborhood is essentially equidistant between Garner and Van Allen. But we said we preferred to stay at Garner because many of our families had already been moved from Van Allen to Garner when Garner opened. So we're hoping to avoid a third move for these families, again, back to Van Allen. We also have about 123 current elementary students in our neighborhood enrolled at Garner. So moving 123 students, we're assuming that that population would stay fairly stable to Van Allen. It's going to create a similar type of overcrowding at Van Allen. That's at Garner now, unless you made significant boundary changes to Van Allen itself. Our third choice was Penn, simply because of the proximity again, but it would require greater distance to walk past Garner and then cross busy Dubuque Street as well. So that's it from us.
Great. Thank you to Broadmoor Estates. Hoover Triangle, 29, and then 30 Belairs on deck.
My name is Erin Kaufman, and I live at 422nd Avenue. I'm here representing the northeast portion of what we call the Hoover Triangle. So it's the area that sits south of Court Street, across the street from Hoover Elementary, and runs down to Friendship. Our neighborhood's first preference is to keep Hoover Elementary open. The people who I spoke with in the neighborhood understand that Hoover anchors our neighborhood in important ways. It keeps young families moving into the area. It supports a sense of community in a neighborhood that is full of affordable housing, which is something that can be really hard to come by in Iowa City. Beyond that, Hoover Elementary is walkable, and it provides capacity in a district that will be full even when we build new schools. Our neighborhood's second preference is to attend Longfellow. This is due simply to proximity. Our neighborhood did not reach consensus for a third option. So from where our neighborhood is, both Lemmy and Lucas are roughly equidistant. Both are great schools. Instead of designating a third choice, we wanted to underscore the importance of remembering the Hoover community during the redistricting process. Should Hoover close, we hope that you prioritize keeping as much of our community together as possible. For example, one of the sets of maps that we studied showed Eastside Elementary schools and the students that they serve within a 1 mile and a 2 mile radius. I assume you're using this for redistricting purposes. When we went to see where Hoover was represented in these maps, we did not find Hoover Elementary listed. So a real concern in my neighborhood, at least, is that we work to keep those kids together, that we recognize the Hoover community as being a strong one, and that you hopefully will do what you can in order to keep the Hoover community intact. Do you have any questions? Okay.
No, great. Thank you to the Hoover Triangle. Next up is Belair, and then on deck will be 31 University Heights, north of Melrose.
Thanks. I'm Brian Richmond of 20 Ashwood Drive, and I'm here representing the Belair neighborhood. I'd like to start by thanking the board for your process of soliciting input from the neighborhoods. I think that's very valuable in this effort. Our first, our neighborhood is roughly the neighborhood just to the just to the north of City High, bounded as you can see on the screen there. We're currently served by Hoover, and our first choice, if Hoover were to remain open for whatever reason, would obviously be to stay at Hoover. It is our neighborhood elementary school. If the board does proceed with its current plans to close Hoover, I think what our neighborhood felt was that we will be the only district, the Hoover district will be the only elementary district in ICCSD where every single family will be reassigned to a new elementary school. And so there was a very strong desire that was expressed over and over again to ensure that the lines that are drawn to divide up the new elementary districts don't bisect neighborhoods in a way that significantly impairs the cohesion of those neighborhoods. So obviously we'd like a lot of sensitivity to both the cohesion of our neighborhood as well as to the other Hoover neighborhoods. That said, if Hoover is not to remain open, then the consensus was that Limmy and Longfellow would be our second and third choices. Those are both relatively equidistant from our neighborhood, and don't require travel by foot down or bicycle down main thoroughfares to get to. I think I should point out that between Limmy and Longfellow, there was support for both schools. We felt like they're both strong schools, basically equidistant, and I think most of the people we spoke with would be happy with either of those choices. In terms of process, we went door to door in our neighborhood. We tried to hit every house in the neighborhood. I think we ultimately made contact with roughly 120 something of the actual houses, as you can see by the signatures on our form. I think it's significant to point out that of the houses, of those 120-something houses we made contact with, only 4 of them expressed an interest in attending a school other than Hoover, or other than Limmy or Longfellow if Hoover is to be closed. And so there's really a strong unanimity of opinion in terms of the desire to maintain the cohesion of the neighborhood and to move into the Longfellow or Limmy community. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Belair.
Thank you.
University Heights North, 31, and up next will be 32 Popular Street.
Thank you. My name is Nick Herbold for University Heights North of Melrose. That is where we are. We're kind of by Kinnick Stadium. We're within walking distance of Horn, but we had pretty much a consensus that we wanted to stay at Borlaug. We were at Horn, moved to Borlaug. The main reason is probably that families don't want to be moved again, but also, of course, we love the students and the faculty and staff the teachers and staff at Borlaug. There's a concern that we will eventually be moved to Horn because we're so close to Horn. And I heard from a lot of parents that they'd like some sort of option to be grandfathered in or something like that, so that families that are at Borlaug can stay there, understanding that we may get moved back to Horn at some point. But we also recognize that Horn is very full right now, so that's also part of the reason we want to stay at Borlaug. In terms of our process, we did try to hit every door. Some people didn't answer. There were 2 people that refused to sign. We had a determined preference of Borlaug, then Horn, then Lincoln. So basically, it's pretty much a consensus that we want to stay at Borlaug. I think that's all I have. If you have questions.
Great, thank you, University Heights North. Popular Street, and then on deck is 33 Stoney Point.
All right, thank you. So my name's Todd Sheets. I'm representing the Poplar neighborhood. So we are currently routed through Wickham Elementary School. So Wickham is our elementary of choice, unsurprisingly. And I think the big piece there is just to let you ask any questions in case you had any questions. We did do a little bit of survey on junior high and high school because we got a hint that this might be coming down the road. We wanted to give both you some feedback early, but also to get people to thinking about this within our own neighborhood. We didn't attempt to summarize and caucus the number 1, number 2, number 3 choices. We let each house put their own number 1, number 2, number 3, and then summarize those inside the document. So, more data is usually better. Any questions?
Great, thanks to Popular Street. Excuse me. 33 Stony Point, on deck would be 34 Aspen Ridge.
Hi, Chanel Karam, 3829 Stony Point Lane. We have 11 homes in our neighborhood, and we got 10 signatures supporting Grant Elementary to North Central to Liberty High School. When the new Grant Elementary is built, it'll literally be across from our neighborhood. So the rationale for that was safety, minimize transportation, distance, time, and cost, and keep community students together, schools serving neighborhoods. And we're about a half a mile from the new high school also. So there's a nice walking or bike path that the students can use.
Great, questions? Thank you to Stony Point. 34 Aspen Ridge, and up deck will be 35 Squire Point subdivision.
So Aspen Ridge, which is Pheasant Lane North, which consists of wood duck, timberwolf, chucker, sandpiper, and grouse. Our overall consensus was Penn. However, busing is still a hot topic in our subdivision because we are kind of borderline. Some kids in our neighborhood will get busing, some kids won't. But overall, Penn was the consensus because we do want to keep the communities, our neighborhood school, going to Penn and minimize the disruption for our students. We did pick 3 schools. The way we surveyed our neighborhood, the rationale for number 3 was just all over the board for the reasoning for picking Van Allen. But like I said, Penn was the first choice.
Questions?
I just missed your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Jillian Williams.
Okay.
Great, thanks to Aspen Ridge. 35 Squire Point, up next will be 36 Spring Valley.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Pratt, representing 3820 Cedar Drive, and that's the Squire Point subdivision, right next to Stoney Point off of Dubuque Street. When you come out of it, it's just a neighborhood of 5 homes. We're the youngest couple in the neighborhood. Everybody else has been there since 1991 when the subdivision started. Nobody currently has children in the subdivision. We are in the process of adopting a sibling group of 2 to 4 kids from Brazil. So they're not identified or anything like that, but we do have interest in this since we are in the process of adoption. And also our neighbors were also interested in because of the idea of downsizing, knowing that families will probably be the ones moving into the neighborhood. So with that, talking with our neighbors, we chose Christine Grant as you can see, 359 feet away from our front door, just across the field there, and then Liberty High being just about the same distance. For us, we moved there a year ago for the reason that our kids would go to Liberty High, and knowing that the Christine Grant Elementary School would be up and coming in 2019. So it is a concern for our subdivision as well as many others along the Dubuque Street Road to have our kids go to West. If you're coming out and taking a left on a Dubuque Street, it's very busy right now. And we know once that Scanlon Farm develops, that's only going to they're estimating somewhere up to 8,000 to 10,000 more cars on to Dubuque Street with it. I'm not sure on the time frame of that, but the traffic study. So just for a teenage driver to take a left to go to West would be a concern for safety. So do you have any questions?
Great, thanks to Squire Point. Next up is Spring Valley, and then I understand number 13 is here. So we'll do 13 Welch Village next.
Hi, my name is Monica Holly-Kaska. I'm at 42 High Circle Drive Northeast. So Spring Valley is a subdivision with private roads off of Dubuque Street. We're on the opposite side of the bike path. So our main concern is keeping a bus, because as you can go further down, I have some pictures of the very limited sight there as people are going very fast down Dubuque Street. It's just like right there on both sides. It's really quite difficult to cross that road. Even though there looks like we're on the bike path, we go nowhere. So our preference was to, we are currently at Wickham, and we're one of these kind of far neighborhoods of Wickham. Our preference also was divided between current families who had kids at Wickham that desired to stay at Wickham, and families who did not have kids desired to go to the new Christine Grant Elementary, which is closer than Wickham, but as well as has these transportation difficulties getting out of our subdivision and going. And so a lot of us, as we were buying into that subdivision, were very happy that there was bus transportation, because it is so very limited for children of even, I don't know, my kid's 5th grade. I'm not quite sure if even junior high is going to be allowed to cross Dubuque Street on his own. And so thinking of independence for high school students, we preferred the Liberty High. So we're one of these very mixed neighborhoods and eager for this kind of secondary stream to be an option, because for the secondary stream, we would much prefer, our first preference was Wickham for elementary, North Central Junior, and Liberty High. And so it was really kind of a mixed as well. Someone was saying grandfathered in for current families. Our subdivision has 60 homes. Only about 10 of them still have children, because most people bought in the 90s and are retirees. But our neighborhood demographics are probably going to change a lot over the next 10 years and get a lot of more new young families in. So right now we just have like 6 kids on the bus, but it's really needed bus. So we're really kind of a mixed Wickham Grant neighborhood. So I appreciate your accepting our input at this early stage. I think it's really great. Thank you.
Great, thank you to Spring Valley. So 13 Welch Village, on deck is 37 Court Hill.
Good evening. My name is Srinivas Madhi. I'm here to represent 38 residents of Welch Village neighborhood numbers 13 and 15. Our elementary school preferences are Christine Grant, Penn, and Wickham, in that order. I have also been asked to speak on behalf of 15 residents of the Northwood neighborhood number 46. Northwood residents' top choice of elementary school is also Grant. Both Welch Village and Northwood neighborhoods are part of the North Lincoln area, which is north of I-80 along Dubuque Street Northeast. We are currently zoned to Lincoln Elementary, Southeast Junior High, and City High. Steve, if you could pull up neighborhood 15, that might show a better map. Thank you. Speaking on behalf of neighborhoods 13, 15, and 46, we strongly believe that promoting safety and minimizing transportation distance, time, and cost, while fostering the strong community sentiment for neighborhood schools, are amongst the top parameters in making boundary decisions. All 3 parameters are listed in Appendix 5, Factors for School Facilities Planning. Christine Grant Elementary satisfies these criteria the best, followed by Penn Elementary and to a lesser degree Wickham Elementary. In addition, these 3 schools and the associated junior high and high schools fulfill 4 of the 5 key values as identified in the attendance area development slide set, namely student achievement, neighborhood schools, operational costs, and capacity. In reviewing the input provided by North Lincoln neighborhoods, as seen on the ICCSD website, approximately 126 households chose Grant as their top choice of elementary school, and more than 200 households picked Grant as either their first choice or their second choice. Based on these numbers, the majority of the North Lincoln neighborhoods and residents are clearly asking to be zoned to Grant Elementary. Expanding on the rationale for requesting North Lincoln neighborhoods to be assigned to Grant Elementary, one is promote safety, item 2 in Appendix 5. The inherent dangers in traveling longer distances, currently 13,860 miles between pre-K and 12th grade, as compared to being zoned to Grant, are mitigated. Grant, Penn, and Liberty High are easily accessible by direct roads and to a lesser degree existing sidewalks. Minimizing transportation distance, time, and cost, item 19 in Appendix 5, and key values of student achievement and operational costs. The extra time spent on buses when zoned to schools farther away from their neighborhood adds up to an extra 1.3 years worth of instructional time spent on buses. This puts a significant academic handicap on thousands of students from these neighborhoods over the years. There is research showing statistically significant negative relationship between distance traveled on buses and school achievement. And the extra time spent on buses is taken away from preparing for college administration, extracurricular activities, family and friend relationships, and getting an adequate amount of sleep. Busing costs, very importantly, to the school district are significantly reduced since a sizable portion of this neighborhood is under 2 miles to Grant Elementary and Wickham, and most of the neighborhood is under 3 miles to Liberty High. Keep communities of students together, schools serving schools, item 9 in Appendix 5, and key value.
30-second point.
Sorry, what was that?
Down to 30 seconds.
Okay. The combination of Christine Grant, North Liberty, and North Central and Liberty High will foster a strong sense of community and increased participation on school-based extracurricular activities due to ease of access and geographic proximity. And finally, capacity, which is item 4 on Appendix 5. The neighborhood is ideally suited to utilize the capacity available at Christine Grant Elementary School. Thank you. That was a mouthful. I appreciate your listening to me.
I think you covered 13, 15, and 46, right?
I covered 13, 15, and 46, which is about 53 households.
And you got through everything you wanted to get through? I know you got 3 neighborhoods, so.
Yeah, no, thank you for allowing me the time. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer it. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to our input. We did the best we could. I can't say this is the ideal, process, but we did the best we could.
No, great, thank you. So thanks to Welch Village.
I think Phil's got it.
Welch.
Just one thing. With some of the presenters coming up, it seems like they might have some new material in their presentation. Could we just let everybody know they could submit it, and then we could attach it to their neighborhood packet by number or name?
Yeah, absolutely, and people have been doing that. So
great.
If people want addendums, yeah, just send them to Kim, and they may get out of order, but that's no problem. All right, 37 Court Hill, 38 Red Wing, 39 Newport Ridge, 40 Windsor Heights. Are we at 40? On deck will be 41 Woodcrest Woodland.
Hi, my name is Leslie Fitzpatrick, and this is Emily Campbell, and we're here representing Windsor Heights. Thank you for the opportunity to gather feedback from our neighbors for encouraging us to do that. We all really appreciated that. We met with 90% of the families in our neighborhood who, at the time this would go into effect, we believe will have children being affected by it, will be in the schools. We came up with our preferences, and then we canvassed the neighborhood. The boundaries of Windsor Heights, essentially it's Rochester, there's 6 additions. It's Rochester and 7th Avenue, Windsor, and it goes to Hickory Hill Park. So our first preference is to keep Hoover open. We're a Hoover school. Our friends at Hoover spoke well tonight already about some of those reasons. You can visit the Save Hoover website for other reasons. If that does not happen, our second strong choice is Longfellow, and for a number of reasons. Some that speak directly to board priorities. Going to Longfellow would not change our feeder plan. We would go Southeast City. Longfellow is essentially the same distance from our neighborhood that Hoover currently is. So it's not going to impact any busing issues. That doesn't apply to us. Something interesting about there's lots of interesting things about our neighborhood, but one interesting thing that we'd like to point out is that we're pretty landlocked. We're not expecting any development unless there's plans to take out Hickory Hill, which I think a lot of people would have an opinion about. And so with that, we're a pretty fixed number right now that would be impacting the numbers at any particular school, which is pretty special and unique. When you look at our distance then to Longfellow, there's a lot of sense made there. Even to consider Lemmy, which was further away, wasn't one of our preferences. We don't choose that. But there's growth going east. If you were to look at Man, which is our third choice, there's other growth in other directions that could impact that school. That's not true with Longfellow. So we think that that's significant. Another interesting piece is that we estimate more than half of the families in our neighborhood go to Regina. So unless Regina plans on moving their campus, we expect that to be something consistent as well in the years to come, which means even when looking at the potential capacity that we're trying to project, we're probably going to take up less space than one would expect out of the numbers of families in our neighborhood, which is good for schools that provide significant programs like Longfellow does. Sorry, everyone, about that. Fiscal and environmental responsibility is balanced, no transportation costs, and it considers the geographic barriers.
Yeah, I would just like to add that we also considered for Longfellow as our second choice versus Horse Band as our third choice. We think that the capacity will be opened up at Longfellow when the new Hoover is built, and a lot of those students will be reassigned to that school. So that was one consideration. The other consideration that we had for Longfellow over Horseman was that we anticipate that a lot of other current Hoover students would be moved to Longfellow, and we don't expect that that would necessarily be the case for moving to Horseman. And we think it's really important for our neighborhood children to continue to be with their cohort at Hoover in the other neighborhoods.
Great. Thank you, Windsor Heights. 41, Woodcrest Woodland, and on deck will be 42, Quail Ridge.
I'm 42.
All right, 42, Quail Ridge, and on deck will be 43, Greenway.
My name's Troy Carter. I live at 30 Colton Drive. Our neighborhood consists of Colton Drive South, McKinsey Lane, and Corey Court. We chose our school primary choice to be Garner. It is actually the only school within 2 miles of our neighborhood. Secondary choice would be Van Allen. Third choice would be Penn Elementary. And then I think all those lead into the North Central Liberty High kind of path. Pretty basic. We had a majority of our people in the neighborhood sign up. I think we currently have 92 students that go to North Central and Garner Elementary from our neighborhood. Any questions?
Great, thank you, Quail Ridge. 43, Greenway Development, and on deck will be 44, Quail Creek.
Hi, my name is Heather Eastman. Thanks for letting me speak. I'm from 2 Kelsey Court in Coralville. So as you'll be able to see from the map, a quarter of our neighborhood actually backs North Central Junior High. If you look at the majority of the reason why most of our neighbors either built homes in that neighborhood or purchased homes, it's all been because of the proximity to elementary and North Central Junior High. We were the first house out there about 7 years ago, and we had a very overwhelming response. Everyone consistently wanted to keep Van Allen as our #1 school. As you can see, we're very close proximity. We have about, I think I wrote 21 homes occupied, but there are 20 actually. We have 4 new homes being developed, but out of those I had 17 signatures. And the other signatures weren't that they didn't agree, I just wasn't able to reach them. I did go to door and we had personal conversations with everyone. Although we are only 20 houses, we do have 30 kids impacted by this, either currently or future children of the Iowa City Community School District. Van Allen, obviously, for many reasons, we will not require any busing, not only for Van Allen, but the junior high and potentially future Liberty High. I believe it sits at 2.8 miles from my house, which is the furthest one in the neighborhood. So if we were to keep this path, we would not require any additional buses, which is additional expenses to the school board. We did choose number 2 as Garner only because it's the only other walking distance, although it pushes 1.8 miles, I believe. Wickham is more than 2.8 miles, and so we didn't put a number 3rd as an option. Garner, although a great school, it already is over capacity, so that doesn't seem to be a really great option, but we thought we should put a couple. And that's kind of the reasons for our input. We did look at Appendix 5 and tried to make sure they aligned with that and what our goals were, and they seem to be in alignment. Any questions?
Thank you to Greenway Development. Thank you. 44 Quail Creek, and on deck will be 45 Westcott Heights.
Hi, I'm Jessica Roman. I'm one of the neighborhood leaders from the Quail Creek neighborhood, which is kind of sandwiched between Highway 965 and Jones Boulevard in North Liberty. To the south is Quail Creek Golf Course, and to the north is the boundary between Van Allen and Garner. Our neighborhood process involved several neighborhood meetings to kind of determine what our priorities were. We also reached out via social media to try to contact as many people as possible. And from there we determined that Van Allen was overwhelmingly our first choice. Our neighborhood has been at Van Allen since it opened, and there are a lot of really fantastic relationships between families in our neighborhood at that school, which since we have lost busing for next year, we found that our neighborhood meetings had an unintended purpose of now starting to develop carpools before and after school plans for our kids. We did do a door-to-door canvas, and our neighborhood is quite extensive, and so luckily it was really nice out on Saturday because we all went for a long walk. We were able to reach about 115 households. Of those, I think it was 112 signatures were collected in support of staying at Van Allen, and then by virtue of the current feeder system, North Central and Liberty. 3 people had different priorities based on the needs of their families and indicated that they would submit their input individually. I lost my train of thought, but I think that was basically it. Questions?
Great, thank you to Quail Creek. 45 Westcott, 46 Northwood Estates, 47 Glen Oaks, 48 Glen Oaks, 49 Windsor Ridge, and then on deck will be 50 Cardinal Ridge.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Riley, and I live in Windsor Ridge. We border, as you can see on the map, we're on, we're not the furthest east, but we're right on Taft Avenue, and we're bordered on the north by Court and on the south by American Legion Road. So the new school is being built just across American Legion from our neighborhood. And so I sent out a survey to our neighborhood and received responses back, and the results are in the document. Of course, everyone's first choice was to go to the school that's going to be very, very close to our neighborhood. As many of you know, our neighborhood is a bit of an island. Our students get on a bus and travel past a few elementaries to get to Longfellow. And as I exchanged some emails last year, our kids would love the opportunity to be able to walk or bike to school. My youngest biked to his preschool before school started, and he was so excited to do it when he got into elementary school. And that's just not an option for us right now. It's just a little too far away. So when I asked our neighbors, what are your first choice? Hoover East was the first, but we received a split response for number 2. They chose Longfellow. Half of the split was for Longfellow because we're there now, and if we had to switch again, we would choose Longfellow. But the other half said, you know, if being close to our neighborhood is important to us, then we would choose Lemmy, and then our 4th choice would be Lucas. All of those elementaries are much closer than Longfellow at this time. One thing that I'm looking forward to as a parent, and we've talked a lot about this, is just the stabilization and minimizing the unknown moving forward. We're very excited about that moving forward, and our neighborhood as well, because we feel like our neighborhood's been a little up in the air over the years, and we've gotten, and like many districts and many neighborhoods, feels like we've been batted around or just been back and forth for so many years, not knowing quite the range of where we could end up has been so odd. So we're excited for the opportunity to know where we'll be in the future. So thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Great, thanks to Windsor Ridge. 50 Cardinal Ridge, 51 Forest Gate, 52 Parkview Terrace, 53 Galloway Hills, 54 Fjords. And on deck will be 55 Morningside Drive. 53 Galloway Hills.
Hi, I'm Karen Chandler, and I'm representing Galloway Hills neighborhood, located right next to West High School. We appreciate this opportunity to put forth our first and only choice of Borlaug Elementary School. And when looking through the Appendix 5 that you guys referenced that you'll be using in your final decision making, we felt that some of our arguments correlated with that. First and foremost would be minimizing student disruption. All of our students were the original students of Borlaug when it opened in 2012. So a lot of us that have older students have already been moved once, and their siblings have followed. Some of the kids adjusted well, some did not. It was a challenge for some. But we would ask that we wouldn't be sent back to a school that we were removed from 4 years ago because of overcrowding. And we feel like there's a significant amount of kids in Galloway Hills that Horn would not be able to accommodate the amount of children as would Weber. And another major concern by several neighbors was the before and after school program. My understanding is Weber has a significant wait list of a couple of years. So especially children in grades 3 through 6 would never get a spot if we were shifted back to Weber. So that's a major concern, that people maintain their spots for before and after school. Another concern is the special needs children in Galloway Hills. Moving several times is challenging for kids that don't have special needs, but if you have a special needs child, it can be even more disruptive to their learning journey, and accommodations have been in place for them. We feel that there's enough younger children in the Galloway Hills neighborhood to accommodate growth moving forward. And let's see. And another point in your Appendix 5 was balancing ethnicity demographics. There's a huge, diverse community in Galloway Hills that I think provides a nice numbers to Borlaug and really makes for just a diverse community. And I think Principal Shopa and her staff have done a fantastic job bringing Borlaug together as its own community, coming from several different schools when it opened. So we feel like it is our neighborhood school, and we would prefer to stay there. We feel the only other option would be Horn, and again, it's overcrowded. Kirkwood would require busing, Coralville Central would require busing, so we feel like Borlaug at this time is the only viable option for our students. Do you have any questions?
Great. Thank you to Galloway Hills.
Thank you.
Checking again on 54 Fjords, 55 Morningside Drive, 56 Oakleaf Lane, 57 Muscatine Avenue, and 58
Yes, I'm 58.
Tree Farm Lane.
Yes.
On deck will be Linderman Heights, 59.
I never thought I'd be here. My youngest daughter graduated 10 years ago from City High School, but as a grandparent, I'm back representing. I also would like to say that I'm Kathy Gable, by the way. I live on Tree Farm Lane, but my daughter was the representative for Westcott, Jenny Mitchell. So I feel like I can represent her here too, because we kind of live by each other and kind of we all have the same feelings. And I know Newport too, number 39, also feels the same way. And their main concern is that if they chose, Shimmick Elementary is their first and only choice. And it is 3 miles to Shimmick Elementary from Westcott, Newport, and Tree Farm Lane. If they were to go to Christine Grant Elementary School, it would be 6.9 miles, and they would have to go via Linder Road, which would take them back into Iowa City very close to Shimmick Elementary School. For the school board to feel that maybe they could use the reservoir dam to cross over to get them there, which is closer, that's really not a viable option because the dam closes Memorial Day to Labor Day at 10 p.m. So that seems late for you too, but if the kids are then going to Liberty High School later on, there's a lot of late after-school activities that would mean that they might want to try to use the dam to get back home faster. And also, it's never been built for a thoroughfare, the dam wasn't. So they will have to go Linder Road, and it's just a longer route for them. So most of the people that live in Westcott, which is a bigger subdivision than where I live, I only have 6 houses where we live, they built their houses there because it's a newer subdivision with the intent for their kids to go to Southeast and to go to City High School. They have a vested interest in the community of Iowa City, and they want to remain with that vested interest at Iowa City, going to Southeast and City High School. They, you know, that I know that's everybody's thoughts in that neighborhood, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I know that Jenny also wrote a letter to the school board and sent it emails, and I know it explains an awful lot more of her concerns in that email, if you would take the time to look that over. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you to Tree Farm Lane. 59, Lindeman Heights. On deck will be 60 man attendance area.
Hi, my name is Debbie Helwig. I'm at 6 Phyllis Place. We asked our neighbors that were affected by the possible move for Lemmy kids once the new Hoover East is built, and we all agreed, everyone that signed the sheet agreed that we would like to stay at Lemmy, although Hoover East, I'm sure, is going to be a great school, and might be kind of a hard decision to make, who to move and things like that, but we overwhelmingly wanted to stay at Lemmy. The walking radii map shows that Lemmy is definitely the closest to our neighborhood. It would minimize the transportation distance, time, and cost, which was criteria 19 in Appendix 5. And it would keep communities of students together, criteria number 9, and meet criteria number 10 to minimize student disruptions. So, any questions?
Great, thank you, Lindeman Heights.
I'd just like to say I enjoyed your guest or your letter to the editor in the Gazette today. That was very good, and if anybody hasn't read it, it's a very good editorial that was in the Cedar Rapids Gazette.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. 60 man attendance. 61 Coralville Central. Looks like we might have both, so.
Man attendance?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, over there. I would just, in general. Oh.
Speak into the mic because people on TV.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Samantha Carroll, I'm at 818 Northland Street. We weren't prepared to speak publicly, but I would say we did get in touch with all the neighborhoods that currently go to Mann, and everyone, of course, overwhelmingly wants to continue to go to Horace Mann Elementary, and also we look forward to having any other families that want to join us there. We're really proud of our school. We think it's pretty fabulous, and I think other people will think so as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. 61 Coralville Central, and on deck will be 62 Cedar Springs.
My name is Ted Wilson. I'm here to represent the entirety of Coralville Central. We took a little bit of a different approach and decided to use an online survey to poll the entire school rather than have individuals break down into specific neighborhoods just because of lack of volunteer effort. For us, it was realistic. And we have about 300 families at Central, and we got responses from 130 different people spread across 3 neighborhoods that we defined. Parents in those neighborhoods could then pick their own preference for school, followed by their top 3 priorities out of 7 that aligned with the district's Appendix 5 choices for reasons for picking a school. So just to kind of briefly summarize what we have here, up in the Northridge area, which is bounded by Interstate 80 on the south and 12th Avenue on the east, we had our greatest number of responses, and that's also where we have the greatest number of families at Coralville Central. Overwhelmingly, everybody from our responses picked Coralville Central as their primary schools. We have a lot of Central pride, and we all want to stay. Up in Northridge, Wickham and Borlaug were close second and third for primary choices. most likely due to the preference to stay at West High. So parents were picking schools that already were designated to go to West High. Priorities for Northridge, and really, I know that one of the reasons for wanting to divide into smaller neighborhoods that we were concerned that the priorities are going to be all over the place. And for all of Central, we had the top 3 priorities that were all the same, just maybe in a different order. And that would be keeping the neighborhood together. People want to go where their kids currently go, and they want to go together with their friends and neighbors. The secondary feeder system, as well as in general proximity to the school. In proximity, we also have safety kind of lumped into that data. We do have a couple of sticking points for safety for our route, namely along 12th Avenue, which really only has 2 crossing points. In the north, there's a new roundabout, a new mini roundabout in place at 12th and Holiday Road. And if you hadn't had a chance to drive along that at rush hour, I would highly encourage you to do that, and then imagine children crossing that busy and unregulated intersection. The second one for crossing 12th is about 1.3 miles to the south at 5th Avenue and 5th Street and 12th. That's the only place where we have a stoplight along there, and so parents are very highly concerned with the loss of discretionary busing as how are kids going to walk that route in a safe manner. Hopefully we can come up with some solutions working with the community to address those. Kind of moving down into our Valley View, we only had 10 responses here, and I don't know how many families we have from Valley View that attend Coralville Central, but again, they prefer Central followed by Wickham and Borlaug, and the priorities are the same. Old Town is a neighborhood that is very close to Central, and so of course proximity is highly important to those families because it's all within safe walking distance. In general, like I said again, we really like our school. We all want to stay there, even if it may be a little bit out of the way. Everybody wants to stay at Central. We are ideally diverse. We're already meeting the aspirational FRL target, and we're still a high-achieving school. And so we just hope that in the future when the board is deciding the boundaries, that you take into account that our school already meets a lot of the standards that the board wants, and we should be used as a model, not necessarily taken apart to satisfy other schools and bringing them up to what we've already achieved. Are there any questions? All right.
Great,
thank
you to Coralville Central. 62 Cedar Springs.
Hi, if you can hear me. I'm Bree Couch. This is my neighbor, Daisha O'Connor. We both live on Cypress Circle in Cedar Springs. We sent out an online survey and had 92 participants. And the majority of our neighborhood prefers that we stay at Garner Elementary. I will say for our second and third choices, it was extremely close. Penn was our second choice in Van Allen. The majority of reasonings for Garner Elementary, our neighborhood has been defined as an island. And I know, as someone has said earlier, these island neighborhoods within the district have gotten a bit of a, I don't know the right terminology, but we've kind of been blown a few different ways as far as possibilities in the future for our schools. That causes a tremendous amount of anxiety and stress, not only for parents planning for where kids are going to go, BASP, and those programs, which are largely funneled in those elementary schools, as well as how they're going to get there. And then for the students themselves, my son is 8. Every time we have a discussion, he is visibly upset about the chance that he may end up getting switched to a different school. He doesn't understand, and I can't explain it to him either. So I think as a whole, our neighborhood feels that we have an extremely strong connection to Garner Elementary. Our neighborhood started small and was Penn Elementary, and then Garner was built, and our neighborhood was switched to Garner Elementary. The majority of the students that go to Garner from our neighborhood now have families that have students that have started when it opened and have, continued with additional children that will also go there. Parents feel very strongly about their additional children starting and finishing at the same school. I agree, and I know Daisha agrees as well. We feel that our children are well taken care of, well adjusted, confident in their education and their teachers and the principal, and we feel very strongly about keeping our children where they are currently. I have also talked to other parents in different elementary schools in North Liberty that feel the exact same way that are not at Garner. My side note is just, it's a question that I know you won't answer, but there is a tremendous amount of potential development around the new elementary school and the new high school. There are two big schools being opened within essentially a mile of each other. There have been zoning changes and already building plans set for and approved for that area. My concern as a parent is that a decision is going to be made in the next few months that will affect my family in all of Cedar Springs, and then Christine Grant will be opened, and then that school could potentially be full by the time it's even open or shortly thereafter. So now, with my neighborhood being an island, are we talking about an additional zoning change then when that happens? It's a question that no one can answer until all of that development occurs, but it's a very realistic thing that could happen. So I ask that you please consider that future development before making any decisions within the North Liberty schools. All of our schools are pretty full, and we're all okay with that. We're okay with a slightly larger class sizes if that means we can keep our students together. So
I would just point out that I think it's a little bit interesting that even though we are an island neighborhood that's physically closer to Penn, we're okay with staying at Garner and making our transportation issues work. We would much rather stay at Garner than to be transferred to a different school that is closer. So I know island neighborhoods aren't popular, but our island neighborhood is fine with continuing to be an island neighborhood and staying at Garner.
Great. Thank you to Cedar Springs. All right. Thank you to all our neighborhoods who participated in the neighborhood process. We also had some individuals who provided input via the same process. Calling them next. We'll do the same order. There's 11 of them. Number 1, the Woods Northeast. Number 2, Brown Deer Road. 3, Coralville Lake Terrace. 4, Stewart Road area. 5, Northwood Estates. 6, Penn Hills. 7, River Heights. 8, Saddlebrook. 9, Spencer Drive. 10, University Heights. 11, Creekside Neighborhood. I guess I should have asked if anybody was here. All right, I don't have any individual speaker forms. Last call, I guess, for any individual. Okay, with that, I'd like to once again thank you, especially to the community leaders who helped lead this effort in their communities. I'll speak on behalf. I thought the input was excellent. I thought the work done by our neighborhoods was excellent. I think it's really going to help us. We won't know until we get into the work, but I really do think it's really going to help us as we move forward. And certainly we know who to talk to if we get into some interesting debates about what is the neighborhood and what's going on. So that's going to be very helpful too. But I just want to say thank you to the community leaders and everybody in the community who input.
Just one quick thing, and I apologize, I didn't do it while the last group was up at the mic, but zoning is above our pay grade. So when a zoning issue comes up, that's with your local municipality and the zoning board or zoning commission. So to answer that question, any zoning concerns you have, we can't really influence.
I would just remind everybody, I mean, the good news is we're at the beginning of the process. We're not at the end of the process, right? So we'll go through. There's going to be lots of time to talk and work on, and we'll continue to get input. I'm sure we'll continue to get input from neighborhoods. We'll get input from individuals. So please keep that coming. In terms of next step, if you look at the schedule on the 8th, we'll have a work session, and we'll discuss the neighborhood input and some building blocks, and potentially no sooner than the 22nd would we have scenarios, because we really want to have the neighborhood input first, chance to do some work sessions and talk about it, and then we'll get into scenarios. And in April, we'll see how the scenarios go. We'll definitely do listening posts and all that good stuff as we go, and we're looking for like a May decision, so if everything goes well. Anything else from the board tonight? I thought the process worked great. Thank you for making this flow very quickly. Everybody did a great job. Thank you, Steve. With that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.